Hi, Dan.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm okay. Just left another meeting for you.
Oh, jeez. A busy day for you?
Yeah. It's been a busy week with medical stuff and Leahy Clinic, and you don't want to know all about
Hang in there.
it. What's the other choice?
Is Nancy on yet? No?
I don't think he has the video on yet.
Okay, I wanted to share with her what my husband was able to make for the houses.
Oh,
So he made 5. He said he just needs to sand them, or at least gets her started with anybody who's put in a request. She can have the artist, paint them and do the stenciling, the lettering.
Thanks, Fran.
What do you think?
Looks pretty good to me. Much better than I could do.
Well, he made 5 just to give it a shot and see how they would come out. So he just wants to sand them up and then I can drop them off. Just let me know when. And then you could have the artist paint them and then be ready for anything that comes in.
Okay, all right. Well, we've got it on the agenda.
Oh, great.
So we'll I'm assuming everyone can hear me, right? All right. I feel like there was something else I should have done, but I don't know what it is. I claimed the host, and so it is 7:30. It
Yeah.
appears to me that we do have six members, so we do have a quorum. So I'm going to call us to order right now at 7:30 and ask Dan to lead us in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
Flag of the
of the
United States.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation.
nation, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, Dan. The flag kind of disappeared. Okay, we have a time commitment to honor from our first guest, Peter Scott, who is here to inform us about the condition of the bandstand. Actually, I asked all of you to go and take a look at it, and most of you, or many of you, probably have heard that it is in kind of tough shape. And so, Peter, why don't you tell us what you've been up to?
Gladly. It's nice to be back at home in the Historical Commission, by the way. My old hunting ground at one point. I don't know if it's John Sophia started really raising a voice about this or where it came from, but being pushed a little. Brian Thompson, a local architect and good friend of mine, and I went to take a look closely, and indeed, it's really in decrepit condition in certain areas. The main columns all need a really major overhaul. I'll come back to that in a moment. There is a lot of rust on the metal railings run around the perimeter of the platform. For all it's worth, the stone foundation is fine as far as we can tell. Some of the details up in the eaves are visible from the ground and in bad shape. Others look good from the ground, but require a closer inspection, and we couldn't see the top of the roof in any useful manner. We arranged to have a meeting with the director of the Board of Public Works, Joe Conway, and they had already started from their end to address this issue, and had looked carefully. And we had what
I'm
I
sorry if
thought
I'm
was,
interrupting anybody. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Frank,
Raise their
we
hand.
can
Yeah,
hear you.
I can't hear anything. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out my audio issues.
there's a turn on the microphone or sound thing someplace on the, oh, he can't hear me. I can't help. Okay, so we were very encouraged by the meeting, to the point where I felt that I talked to Nancy about it. And there's also this ad hoc committee looking at the perimeter of the lake. And we've already discussed it with them as well. The most important thing to my mind about all this is that the attitude from the town is, yes, we have a real problem here. And yes, we need to really figure out what to do to make sure there's a long-term, for the long-term well-being of the gazebo. And so we started with the DPW a discussion about assembling a list of what needs to be done on the building, roughly how to do it, and or where to get really well-educated information about doing that. For instance, we have located a roofing contractor in Malden who specializes in old roofs of the kind that we have on the gazebo. And we will get hold of them and get them out there to inspect it and to discuss with us what, if anything, needs to be done. The gazebo roof was in fact recoded by the WCNA, who hired a contractor to do it, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or something like that. So it may be in good condition, but we can't quite see from the ground. That brought up a second suggestion from the DPW, which is they hire or get a drone. I couldn't figure out from the discussion whether they actually had one in-house or whether they used somebody. But we're going to get a drone up there and do a slow fly around, close up as we can get to the roof and to the perimeter of the roof, so we can really inspect what we have up there. At some point, we'll have to get big ladders and get up there as well. As far as the roof structure is concerned, the only area that I saw that we can probably just put slap a coat of paint on, if you will, is the ceiling over the platform. I'm pretty sure that was installed at the time about 30 years ago, when again the WCNA had hired an architect in Winchester with real expertise in this kind of thing to draw up specifications and drawings, and we bid out the job and had it done at that time, which involved doing a bunch of electrical work to clean things up, doing the ceiling, doing all new railings around the perimeter, because what we had there was both dilapidated and didn't comply at all with building codes, which are all based on safety, so you really want to comply with them. So that roof, the ceiling is fine, I think. The columns, we all agree we're probably going to strip them down to bare wood. Actually, there's two options there. One, you can replace the columns with artificial material of some sort. But I don't think anybody at the table really thought we needed to do it. And from a historical point of view, you really don't want to do that. So the idea at this point in time is to find the best technique to strip the paint completely off down to the bare wood. And then seal the wood thoroughly with epoxy.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, John.
Why is it necessary to strip the paint?
Because the only way we can build this thing up fully protected and get a nice smooth finish that's going to be long lasting is to do just that. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have a little paint peel here, a little paint peel there. The water gets underneath it during the wintertime and it all's popping back out again.
Okay.
I believe the wood is southern yellow pine, possibly first growth, which at the time that was still available was almost as hard and strong as oak.
Yeah.
And so the idea is then once we have it stripped, we'll see where all the divots are and the dinks and dents, and we'll fill those and recoat it finally again with epoxy, and then finally prime and paint the finish with a paint, quite possibly a marine paint, which is really designed for harsh weather condition and longevity. This is not a cheap process, what I'm talking about here.
Right.
The railing that we installed 30 years ago, as attractive as it is or was, alas, is rusting in a number of spots, and it has intricate detailing on the top, crevices and so forth, and it's rusting in there. And getting in there and getting the rust out sufficiently to reprime it and repaint it is virtually impossible. And the suggestion there is that what we'll do is actually pull them out and replace them with a different metal that does not rust, either stainless steel or aluminum. There is a terrific metal worker up on Route 1 that I visited not long ago, who specializes in just this kind of thing and is doing work all over the world, embassy gates in the White House and places like that. And I might eventually go back up there and start to talk to them about what needs to be done. So the plan that was generally agreed to around the table is to really dig into all these areas and find the best treatment for each portion of it, get pricing together. I'm not quite sure about the funding. This could be 100 grand more. That's a serious chunk of money. And start construction next spring. But we don't want there. We also discussed, by the by, the possibility of, for the time being, going in and patching little portions here and there. And the problem with that is a perception in the public that looks to the public like, oh, that's all they're going to do. And then you spend all your time explaining, no, 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 that's just for the next 6 months. So we think it's better to push ahead, figure out what the very best treatment is, and then execute it. That's as far as we've gotten. The process, I'm sure, has to get more organized and more formalized. But one way or the other, this commission will be first to be informed about what the real proposals are.
Peter, do you think it would make any sense to have a historic structure report done on the bandstand that would help guide the restoration?
I brought that up, and the others all disagreed, interestingly. Frankly, that's what you're talking about is stuff that I was used to. We did that a lot back when I was still on the commission. And we had the old ice house inspected carefully by an industrial archaeologist, as I recall, and things like that. Structurally, the thing is fine. If you're talking about structural, you're talking about historical. Which are you emphasizing, Nancy?
Both of those things. I don't know if you've seen it, but I uncovered a photograph from just a remarkably clear photograph from just after the bandstand was erected. And the detail on it is interesting. I'm not sure those pillars are original, for example. I think the roof was patterned. I don't know that we need to return to that, to those things. But in terms, because it is a National Register structure and because of its importance to the town, I don't know if we should just explore the idea of commissioning a historic structure report. Of course, that would add a chunk of change to the final amount that would be spent on it, but it might be money well spent.
I don't see why that couldn't be done parallel. And for that matter, this seems to me like that's something one could do in cooperation. Say, for instance, that the Historical Commission leads this and would say, we want to do that. And ask the town for extra money to pay for it, basically.
And that would be something we would go on to talk about
Yeah.
tonight. But Peter, I'm sensitive to your time crunch here. And so I see that we have a large number of people who have joined us for this. And I wonder if any of those people have a question specifically for you or any member of the commission first. Let's take the commission first. Dan.
Could the federal government, some of the money that the town is getting back from the federal government, go into this? And also, why have a drone when we have a fire alarm truck, light department truck with a bucket that could go up there and look at it, I should think, for nothing?
Good points.
I'll put the question to Joe, to the director of the DPW. That's a good idea, I think.
My son has a drone. He could bring it up.
There you go.
It's an FBI drone, but
But a lot of this is coming back to the town. This might be a great project for it. And not just the historical commission, but the town itself.
Yeah. It might well be that.
Well, it's one of the jewels of the town, We call it, well, I don't know what you call it, but I call it the bandstand.
yeah, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
Dan, that's a good point, and I think that the town is currently investigating how they're going to spend that COVID infrastructure money, and they're looking at putting it into infrastructure. So this actually would be, I think, this is what is going on. It seems to me this would be an ideal project for that. But thank you for bringing those points up, especially the trucks. Does anybody else have a question for Peter? Anybody out of this large number of people who are visiting?
I have a comment.
Okay, John, shoot.
This is a 30-second little bit of interest point. It was built, the bandstand was built in 1885 for $2,500. That by the normal monetary projections of buying power comes to $80,000 today. Interesting factoid, that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Julie, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, can you hear me?
And I can hear you. I see your
I'm
little
double
hand.
dipping. I'm at a WCNA meeting, but they know I'm also with you. So I'm off of their screen for a bit. I spoke to a couple of the town councilors, and I hope you guys don't mind. I would like the town to report back on a yearly basis on some of the historical structures in the community. That way, if they're reporting back on some of the historical structures in the community, they're actually obligated to monitor the historical structures in the community on a yearly basis. So I'm sure you've heard from them about that, and I look forward to that happening. I also hope that in the future, the town really goes out of their way to be proactive with some of our historical structures, such as the bandstand, in preventative maintenance. Thankfully, John Sophia was out doing something that day for the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt and happened to notice the condition of the bandstand. Otherwise, it may not have been noticed in time for maybe some preventative maintenance to happen between now and next spring. So I look forward to hearing the town talk about historical structures on a yearly basis to the town council.
Anyone else? All right, then, Peter, we can let you be free to go off to your WCNA meeting. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much
Thank you, Peter.
for coming by. Julie, thank you too. I have been asked to go to the town council meeting a week from yesterday in order to report on historic structures. I don't know. There are lots of historic structures that are owned by the town of Wakefield, most of them under the direct control of the Department of Public Works, who I would have thought would have been, an asset in ascertaining their condition, but okay. So we'll look forward to that. And I, in starting right off with the bandstand, and in order to let Peter get to the WCNA by 7:50, which I had promised, I leapfrogged right over the public participation portion of our meeting. Is there any member of the public who would like to be heard by the commission? Someone has their hand raised.
think that's
Jennifer.
me. Yes,
Jennifer Fanning, hi.
Hi, yeah. I live in Wakefield, and I have a question actually for the committee, which is, I'm aware that the NEMT will be building a new school over the next few years, and that the plan for the new school is for the new school to be built inside the forested area that's on a rocky hill, which will involve, cutting down the trees, blasting the rock. And since there are, many dozens of known Native American historical sites just within a 1 mile radius of that forest, I wonder if this commission has been consulted at all about, any information about Native American sites, in that forest. As far as I know, there has not been a survey, and that there aren't currently plans for a survey, which means that, we don't even, I think, know what might be impacted by this planned blasting.
Well, that's a very good question, a thoughtful question. You're talking about the vocational school?
That's right.
Okay. All right. I can tell you that we have not been contacted by that committee. I can also tell you that the State Historical Commission is extremely aware of the archaeological resources within Breakheart Reservation. About 20 years ago, they added a large chunk of land, I believe. I would have to research it further, just on surface knowledge. They added a large amount of territory to Breakheart. In fact, Doug and Allison are here and possibly could speak to that. They know a lot about Breakheart. The state does not advertise the location of archaeological sites for an obvious reason. But the Massachusetts Historical Commission is very, very much aware of the resources there. And I believe that if you went to the building committee for the vocational school, you would find that they need to get all kinds of permissions in order to proceed with their projects. And they certainly would contain the Mass Historical Commission. But I can double check for you if you like.
Yeah, I would love to know, what sorts of surveys were conducted and when, because I know that it's been a separate property from Breakheart for, a number of decades. So I'm not sure when a survey like that would have been done.
I think it was within the past. Richard Tassay was still our state senator at that time. If that gives us any kind of a time frame, because I remember that he was helpful in, I believe. But this is right off the top of my head, so I will have to research it further and get back to you. Could you please send an email to Historical Commission at wakefield.ma.us?
Sure, will do.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And Linda Ireland, your hand is raised.
Yes, I just wanted to say I have looked at the, I think it's called MACRIS database.
Yep,
And the gates on Hemlock Road are part of the National Register of Historic Places. And I believe there may be a few other sites in that parcel. I have also asked about at the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and as far as I can understand, there was no response to the project notification form. In other words, they know that it is archaeologically sensitive, as
Right.
far as I know, but no action has been taken. You might want to verify that.
okay.
'Cause
All right. Well, my homework is getting bigger every day. Certainly we'll get right on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. If you send an email also, I'll make sure that I'll let you know what I
Okay.
find out as well. Okay? Historical Commission at wakefield.ma.us.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, then, that concludes the public participation portion of the project. We have had 2 requests for demolition of properties in Wakefield, properties that are on our MACRIS database because they are significant sites. One is 13 Greenwood Street, which also has an address name on Hemlock.
Hickory.
Hickory Hill, right. Thank you, Fran. Okay, and its historic name is the Joseph J. Locke House. Its common name is the Henry L. Hadcock House. It was built in 1840. It is a Greek revival, colonial revival, building a single family dwelling. The other structure is at 8 Myrtle Avenue, and its historic name is the Sam Kimball House. Its common name is the George Hardy House. 8 Myrtle Avenue was built in 1850. It is an Italianate structure, a single-family dwelling house. Both of these structures are on our list. We have received from the building inspector a request to demolish both of them by separate people. And our job tonight is to determine whether or not we should have a public hearing about these 2 structures. So can I have discussion on that? Anybody?
Are there any pictures available?
Well, yeah, there are. I don't have them with me now. I'm not opening it up to the public actually
Oh,
right now,
sorry.
John. I'm
Sorry.
asking the historical commission because it's a commission business of whether or not we would hold a public hearing on the matter. I would like to hold a public hearing on the date of our next historical commission meeting on both of these structures. Can I have a motion to that effect, or
So
maybe you have?
Nancy, I went online and I just used the maps, Google Maps.
Right.
The home at 13 Greenwood Street, it's not visible from the road. Do you know if the house is currently inhabitable?
You see, that's not really our task. Our task is the structure, whether or not it is.
No, the property is overgrown. I couldn't see clearly the front of the home, so I had no idea, what the structure looked like.
Right. We need to find out whether it's preferable, in the words of our bylaw, whether it is preferably preserved.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think because of the age of both of the structures, I think they deserve to have a hearing.
I make a motion that at our next meeting, we put a public hearing in place for both structures.
Okay,
And I'll second that. I need a little more time on that too.
sure. Discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of having a public hearing. What is the date of our next meeting? Does anybody know? Where's Gene with his calendar?
It would be the 18th is the third Tuesday, if that's what you want to stick to.
I think it was the fourth Tuesday we wanted to,
Okay, then it would be the 25th of October.
25th of October.
Yeah.
Okay, and the hearings will be at 8 o'clock. So all in favor? Commissioners?
Aye.
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 Okay. Frank, are you still with us? I think we've lost Frank.
I am, so I'm with you now.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Do both these need to be published? Or can they both be on the same?
They can both be on the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it is expensive to.
It is. Yeah. I think they can both be on the same thing. So I will notify the owners of the properties about the public hearing. I will get to you, all of the historical commissioners, the record pages on the history of both structures. If anyone is able to snap a photograph of them, that would be helpful. If not, I'm sure the owners of the property will come equipped with photographs and documentation and information. Okay, so that public hearing will be on the 25th of October. Okay, now on the subject of the work on the Floral Way, I asked all of you to go and take a look and see what you think. What is your opinion with the work so far? No opinion. They have not yet done the fence that we had asked for, and that will not happen until the spring. And the fence along the back of the Hartshorn house, which was also part of the work, will not be accomplished until later this fall.
Nancy, I have a question about that fence. What was included in scope with that fence? Was we able to get a similar look to what was proposed?
Yep, that's what they promised.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that's just a matter of public information. I asked the town engineer to please get back to me with that info, and he quickly did that. So I'll keep you guys posted on any news that I may receive. What about the path surface itself? Did you get the chance to walk along it and see what you thought of it? No? Okay.
I thought it was a great compromise instead of the asphalt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Even though it's stone dust, is that ADA compliant?
Yes, everything they did was completely ADA compliant. We can have the town engineer come back and talk to us again about it if you like, or the Commission on Disability Issues can address a question directly to him. But I'm quite sure that it was, because that was one of the larger reasons for the work to be done. One of the many reasons that the work needed to be done. Okay, so leaving that topic, we're on to historic house markers. Fran has had her husband has come up with 5 interim historic house markers to be used until we find a permanent solution to our house marker dilemma.
Do you need more than 5?
No, I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think so. I think we're good with that.
And do you still have the artist who's willing to do the lettering,
Right,
the painting?
right.
Okay.
And I'm forgetting what we said we were charging for it.
So I believe the gentleman that was doing them out of Maine, I want to say
Right.
it was 75.
He was getting $68 for them, and that was post-paid. But I think I don't know if he was making any money on them at all, the poor man. But we were asking the public for $75,
Okay,
of which we were reimbursing you
Right.
and your husband for the cost of the
Right.
wood and the labor, whatever that was.
$10 per sign.
Okay, $10 per sign. And then the remainder would go to David Workman for the finish work of the
Stop.
painting it and then the lettering
Yep.
and everything else. So in the meantime, we have there is a fellow who has taken on the job of from the Old Colony Artisans. He's kind of taken up the mantle of this business. I have asked him to give us a quote on the signs to see what he would charge. I think it is going to be appreciably more than what Mr. Leonard used to charge. And when we get that information, we will be able to see possibly David Workman would like to put in a quote of his own. But in the meantime, we now no longer have a rush. We can advertise the signs once again for $75 and go from there. So,
Okay.
All right. And thank you, Fran. Thank your husband for doing that. That's a huge job.
He's just slow.
That's okay. That's okay. We haven't been taking the orders because we just didn't know
Mhm.
kind of where we stood with it.
And if it's Dave Workman that's doing the lettering on it, it's a local artist, so it's
He's
good local doing it.
he's local and he also I know he'd do a great job, and he also will deliver it without any need for mailing it. So that's also a plus, I would think, but we'll see how it works out. So more on this at our next meeting, and I'll put the opportunity to order house markers back on our website because I had taken it off for in the interim because we didn't really have a solution in place. Okay, now on bills to review, I have 2 bills that I have covered for us. They were in the amount of $105.19 for our WordPress That's our website. And $202 for the post office box. So the total is $307.19 that I am requesting reimbursement for. Can I have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve $307.19 for Nancy to cover those expenses.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, I'm gonna have to have a voice vote since it is a Zoom, and so I'll have to ask, Dan, are you okay with it?
Yes.
Fran, yes.
Yes,
Catalina,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Therese?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Now, on to other matters. We have another sign to consider. Mr. Anthony Arcari took down the structure where John Anthony Volpe was born in 2017. There had been a sign. John Volpe, for those of you who don't know, was governor of Massachusetts, born here in Wakefield on Water Street, 259 Water Street. Anyway, he was born on Water Street. He later became the Secretary of Transportation, the governor of Massachusetts, and the ambassador to Italy. An old fellow named Sam Benedetto long ago asked the commission if we could make that site a significant site, and we did at his request and prompting. And he supplied a sign for the property, so that when Mr. Arcari bought the property and wanted to take it down, he promised us that he would put a sign on the new building that he built, noting the fact that that this was the birthplace of Governor Volpe. Now, 5 years later, he finally has the building up, and he would like to supply the sign. I told him we would talk it over among the commission, whether the wording is still okay. I would think that it probably was.
Can we take some pictures of it or something?
I don't, you
Feels-
probably can't see that, but the problem was that a member of the Volpe family in the dark of night went off with the sign before the building came down. But Mr. Arcari had taken a photograph of it. And here it is: birthplace of John A. Volpe, December 8th, 1908, governor of Massachusetts, Secretary of Transportation, ambassador to Italy. Instead of being a wooden sign, he proposes that it would be a fabricated sign, so that it's like a plastic kind of material, resin kind of material, so that it will be more longer lasting. He proposes that it be white with black lettering. Does anybody have any objections to his using the exact same wording that he had used originally?
I have no objections, but if I might weigh in, I currently work for a commercial signage company. We fabricate our own signage. And if there's anything that I could do to lend a hand to that, to the effect of like making sure that sign can stand the test of time and things like that, ensure that the right materials are made for it, seeing as how this is going to be some sort of like a marker for a historical site, it probably should. So there are new technologies out there and things that probably should be considered to make sure that occurs.
Okay, I will then give him your email address if that's okay, if he has questions or if he wants to run anything by you.
Absolutely.
All right, but right now we're approving the lettering. Is everybody okay with it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. All right, good. Another issue we have is Town Day is coming up on October 8th from 1 to 4 p.m. This is not something that I could participate in. But if I mentioned to you guys, if any of two of you would like to have a table or would like to sit there on the common representing the Historical Commission, you could hand out historical house marker forms and walking tour of historic downtown Wakefield brochures. If that's an answer, any questions, of course, about the Historical Commission. Does anybody want to do that?
Do you have the time? What time?
1 to 4 p.m.
1 to 4.
The town itself would put the table in place for us. The DPW would do that.
Really?
But I really think it needs to be two of you. I don't know.
Well, what's the date again, Nancy?
October 8th, it's a Saturday.
When would you like an answer by?
Well, pretty soon so that I can let the DPW know, although I don't think that it will be a problem moving another table down there.
I think it's going to be a little bit smaller than in the past. If you remember past the town days, I just was at the town day last weekend in Reading. And I mean, it was huge, but I think this is going to be on a smaller scale.
Yeah, well, Wakefield 350 used to do Town
Yeah.
Day, and it was on a huge scale. So this is small. It's only 3 hours, so it's not a big thing. But I understand that there is going to be a beer garden. So I
Yes,
don't know if that would weigh in on your decision.
It's
I'm
funny.
gonna
It's
let you know.
You let me know, okay?
It's funny. And Lois went to get a beer. I think it was last year, and we couldn't get it because we didn't have an ID.
You didn't have an idea.
I said, just look at my hair.
Well, make sure you got your ID in place this time, Dan. Okay, so that's that is it. And so let me know, okay? Let me know maybe by
Yeah,
by next Monday, maybe a week from now, or yeah. When I have to go and speak to the town council about historic buildings. I don't know. Okay. I also would like to let you know that the museum is going to be open beginning on Sunday, September 25th, from 1 to 3 p.m. And there's a whole range of other dates for the fall. Fran, if you'd like to bring the signs over to the museum, that would be a good place, a good time. If you're free on Sunday, or I'll send you a list of the other days because David Workman is often there, and then he could pick up the signs directly.
Okay, yeah, so I don't think this weekend will work, but give me other dates.
Sure, I'll send you all the other dates. And that would be great. And you could even, talk to him about it
Yep.
because he's there on Tuesday evenings. So all the
Okay.
Tuesday dates would
Okay.
be great. Okay. All right. And those are all the things on my list. Does anybody have anything else? Dan?
okay. I didn't have too much time to think. So I was looking at the rail to trail, and I'm looking at some of the spots on the rail to trail, and I was wondering, other places I go have interpretive panels for the different historical spots along that trail. And maybe we might think about putting in something like that, interpretive panels, like where the old center railroad station used to be, or the Lowell Street station, something along that line. And I know Frank was talking about signage. Maybe we could work something with Frank.
Right, well, we have to make sure to keep our business separate from town work. We don't want any trouble with conflict of interest, but that's an excellent idea, Dan, and that is one of the projects that I've been thinking about long-term as well, hoping to put up a couple of interpretive markers. I was thinking Lakeside, you know, because there's such a large number of people who walk around the lake. If we were able to put up something, you know, I was thinking that would be an idea, but I hadn't thought about the rail to trail. So
Just looking at Veterans Field where the old ice houses used to be, people don't realize what was there before the Hot Sun House and back of the Hall property, all the way around the lake. What was
Right.
there? The spur line, the railroad tracks that went in there.
Right. Yeah, and we could put something on that order at the head of the lake, the other end of the lake, you know, as with a photograph or whatever. So those are, and I know the town of Stoneham, the Stoneham Historical Commission, I believe, has done a couple of very nice interpretive markers. They would be expensive, but I think we have to start thinking long-term and when the town comes to us and wants to know what our budget is, I think maybe if we had a project like this, we would be able to ask to do it. And if we have to go and see the town council more often, then we could acquaint them with our projects as well. But that's a great idea, Dan. So if you,
Stonium, they've even done the traffic control light boxes and different pictures of a historic events in Stoneham. But, you know, I just say the town of Wakefield has to spend some money on history. It's just falling apart and it's just going away, and there's no way of replacing it. Once it's gone, it's gone. And yes, it costs some money, but in the long term, it's history, and we got to preserve that history. And that's what all of us here on this board are for, preserving that history. And it may sound corny, but it's true.
well, I don't think you'll get any argument from us, Dan. All right, so that is a great idea. If you want to come up with a couple of ideas that are right along the rail to trail, because that might be a different style of sign, you know, that we would be working toward. The lakeside signs would be different, I would think.
Yeah.
But it's something to think about in the future.
It's 2 years off, but it's, you know, it's time to start thinking about that.
Right.
I could present a few, you know, typical options that you would encounter in that type of situation, like along a path as well. Some affordable options, maybe some middle of the road options that you guys could look at as examples to go from.
Yep. Well, let's look into historic markers, generally speaking, that are being used in other communities and other places, and start getting ideas about it. And certainly we would value your input on that as well, Frank. Okay. All right. Does anyone else have anything to raise? All right, then.
Do we have money in the budget for a drone?
Well, no, but my son Tim would come by. He'd be happy to come by with his drone, and I think I'll ask him.
From my house, drones.
He does droning for a living, I think, anyway. Anyway, okay, well, thank you all for coming. Thank you for your attention and your input and your thoughtfulness and your ideas. And hang in with us for the future. Let's see what we can develop in terms of interpretive markers and trying to preserve the town's history. And I will be contacting the Mass Historical Commission to see what I can find out about this issue with regard to the vocational school blasting in a part of Breakheart. Should be an interesting process. So anyway, thank you all very much. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Okay, Fran is the motioner tonight. Second. Come on, I need a
Second the
second.
motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you all very
right.
much.
Good night.
Bye-bye,
Thank you.
everybody.